Oh no, we're live.
Live.
Oh
my God.
that was an accident. Hello and welcome to Normal Island. I'm Curtis Daly. I was going to tell you who I'm joined by. You just seen on screen, Sarah Daly. Sorry about that. Basically, we gave you a bit of a jump scare. We were just messing around in the studio, and I accidentally clicked a button, and now I'm here. So actually, you're probably going to like that though, because we're always late, and I mean, technically, you're still kind of late. Anyway, let's get on with this show because you're not here to listen to me ramble. I'm, of course, because it's Friday, joined by Sarah Daly. Sarah, how are you?
Yes, good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a bit perplexed at what I've just done, but
Yes,
yeah, I need to get my mind onto it.
I know I was getting into the music as well, so I'm quite upset, but it's fine.
Yeah, I did get to listen to some 1 minute music that pumps me up. So
Yeah,
oh well.
it's all good.
It's okay. Anyway, we've got a really good show. This is what we've got for you coming up tonight. 300,000 people sign up to a new Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana party. Protests in Epping were organised by the far right, and leaked information reveal the truth about Palestine Action proscription. Sorry, excuse me. Now, of course, always remember to like the stream, and if you're not a subscriber, then please hit that button. We'll be getting to your comments at the end, so make sure you are busy in the chat. But on to our first story. The new Corbyn-Sultana party has seemingly exploded in popularity. Both independent MPs released a statement yesterday announcing a new Democratic Party is being built, asking for supporters to help shape the party. They both directed people to a website, yourparty.uk. On the homepage, it states, "Soon we'll host an inaugural founding conference so you can help shape how your party works, what it stands for, and how we organise to win. Fill in this form so that your party and the new party that develops from it can update you on news, activities, and ways to get involved." Now, there was some confusion around the name. Some outlets, including Politics Joe and The Telegraph, mistakenly thought it was officially called Your Party. Corbyn launches hard left Your Party to challenge Starmer. But you know what? That's not the story here. The real story is the fact that at this current time, over 300,000 people have signed up, with the first 200,000 within 24 hours. Now, that is pretty impressive, okay? It doesn't have a policy platform. It doesn't have a structure. It doesn't even have a name. It's clear that Jeremy Corbyn is still very popular. Now, of course, unsurprisingly, this has brought on attacks from those in the corporate media. Radical centrist Nick Tyrone said, "If Corbyn was at least marginally intellectual, I'd get it a little more. But he doesn't even present the pretense of having worked out some solutions. It's just reheated teenage Marxism, and a fairly dull version of it at that." Now, I'm still yet to see what's reheated Marxism here. Reducing inequality? Ending poverty? And taxing the rich? Well, that has nothing to do with Marxism. I know, because I'm a Marxist. Now, one of the worst accounts on Twitter, the last Blairite, clues obviously in the name, they said, "It's going to be wild just how anti-Semitic this new Corbyn-Sultana party is going to be." That's the same person who called Bernie Sanders an anti-Semite, by the way. Sanders, who was Jewish, who had family members killed in the Holocaust. Alistair Campbell went on Sky News and tried to make it out that the popularity of this new party is all about Gaza.
Party that's launching today, involving, of course, Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. I mean, do you think they're the real deal?
Well, no, but I do think it's a sign of a time when politics is maybe becoming more fragmented. Look, the Labour Party is in government. It's got a big majority. I think the way to deal with both reform and a new left-wing party is actually, if the Labour government just to govern well and do the things that they said they were going to do. But you know, there's no doubt Jeremy Corbyn has a following. He's got a certain appeal to a certain demographic. I think coming along at the time when Gaza is back, you know, really back in the news. I mean, it should never have left the news, but it's right back there at the heart of it. I suspect that's why they've chosen now to launch this. But Labour's got to govern well and have the British people understand that they're governing for them. And, you know, Jeremy Corbyn will do what Jeremy Corbyn does.
I mean, you mentioned there Gaza.
Of course, Gaza is a key issue, but people were angry with Labour under Keir Starmer as soon as 2021. It's not just foreign policy. It's the fact that they are neoliberal. They take donations from corporations and billionaires. Now, we've said for a while that the left needs to sound more and be more aggressive and take no shit. Well, I like what Zara Sultana has been saying lately. We've reached 230,000 sign-ups. That's more than Reform's membership. Nigel Farage, Zahar Youssef, Richard Tice, Lee Anderson, and you've got James McMurdoch and Rupert Lowe crossed out there because they're former Reform MPs. She says, your boys are taking one hell of a beating. Labour, you're next. That's the type of energy I want to see. Sarah, all this talk in the media about the new party having a disastrous opening, confusion with the name, etc. Is this a comms problem that we should be worried about in the future, or is this even a big deal?
No, it's not a big deal at all. Like, absolutely not. I think the media are they're fussing over it a little bit too much. But can I just say, when I saw Alistair Campbell's face, I just think he's such a wet wipe. I'll talk about him in a second. But I think it's literally a storm in a teacup, right? Like, yeah, sure, there were a few outlets out there that jumped the gun and thought this project was literally called, Your Party, leading to some trivial name confusion. But let's put that into perspective. Over 300,000 people have signed up in just a couple of days. That's insane. And the first 200,000, like you'd said, in the first 24 hours. That level of enthusiasm is virtually unprecedented in modern UK politics for a brand new initiative. We're living in a time where a lot of people do resonate with the term politically homeless. They don't feel like they resonate with any sort of political party out there. So if anything, I think what this is proving is that Corbyn and Sultana have tapped into a pretty huge reservoir of public goodwill and hunger for real change. And what Alistair Campbell was saying about the fact that, it seems like they just want to talk about Gaza, which is an important issue. Of course it's an important issue, but obviously it's not the only thing that this party will be focusing on. Because frankly, the real story that these media outlets need to be focusing on is the fact that 300k plus figure is insane. It's not what the party's called right now.
Yeah, and look, obviously, email sign-ups are different to membership because it's free and obviously anyone around the world can do it. So clearly the numbers are going to be quite big, and I think it's not exactly the same as membership. Having said that, though, I mean, how many organizations can you think of, political organizations, that sign up 300,000 people in 24 hours?
Exactly.
It seems quite unprecedented.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if they can convert 50% of those people to fully paid up members, that's 150,000 members, which is more than the Greens, it's more than the Conservative Party, it's more than Liberal Democrats, and that is that will be without any media backing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's important to understand, because a lot of people say, well, it's free to do it. Yeah, but okay, what happens when they turn into a membership? I mean, we can see then how well they're going to do.
Exactly. And I think that's what matters, though, isn't it? That hundreds of thousands of ordinary people are so disillusioned. I mean, the fact of the matter is, lots of people feel disenfranchised. Lots of people feel disillusioned with the status quo. That's why everyone was like, well, I don't really know who to vote for. I need something new. That's why they go for reform. And I feel like if people are rushing to be part of something entirely new and undefined and unarmed, then this might be the answer. And Corbyn does have some pretty enduring popularity. And I think there is a huge appetite out there for an alternative to Starmer's centrist Labour and very Tory-esque and the Tories. But I do think that this is what the media does, particularly of Corbyn, historically, just so much nitpicking and over branding and calling it this disastrous opening or a communications blunder. I think it's just bad faith framing, to be honest.
I mean, we weren't going to expect any sort of good faith framing on a left-wing party, but I think in terms of the media is characterising as two stuff-ups for the launch of a party. The first time was when Zara Sultana sort of came out and said, we're doing a new party, and Jeremy was like, kind of didn't really know what was going on. I mean, that was what it looked like in the public eye. And the second time is the confusion of this name. But I'm thinking, no one's going to remember that shit in 6 months' time. I mean, think of all the scandals from Reform. Think of all, James McMurdoch, who's no longer an MP, he punched his girlfriend or something like that. All these scandals from right-wing parties and the Conservatives, and we're going to be dwelling over the confusion of a name. I don't think that particularly matters, does it? I think
no.
And the thing is, I suppose some people might think, well, first impressions matter. But I think actually in terms of politics, it really, really doesn't. I mean, in some ways, people have really short memories.
They do. They do. I think the bottom line here is that Jeremy Corbyn remains pretty popular, and that's what's going to kind of sustain him throughout all of this. And I think with a huge section of the public and the establishment knows it, like those sign-ups aren't like bots or some fringe like extremists. These people are ordinary people. They're teachers, nurses, students, workers, parents, people like who, like I said earlier, feel politically homeless and are fed up with being told by Nick Tyrone what is or isn't serious politics. Like, if anything, I think the media's hyper focus on ridiculous things is them trying to pivot away from what would be a very, very massive grassroots response. I think they'd rather talk about branding gaffes and confront why so many Brits are flocking to Corbyn and Sultana's banner in the first place. So I think like this launch quirk, whatever, like quote unquote major comms failure is literally just a footnote. People won't remember it. You're so right.
Well, I mean, Corbyn's team have said that the average donation is £14.50. So it's ordinary people who are signing up, and they've pulled in quite a bit of money. In terms of the name confusion, I think they're quite happy with that because it's getting media traction actually. So I think that's. I honestly think these little mishaps are neither here nor there. In 6 months' time, what matters is the messaging. That's what matters. I do want to ask you about the structures, though, right? Mm-hmm. So a grassroots, full-on democratic party, which is built from the ground up, that is definitely something new. Now, I'm not going to discount the Greens. The Greens are very democratic. They are member-led. They do get to decide policy. But a full-blown democratic party that's created from the ground up, so much so that people can literally chip in and decide what it's going to look like. That is new. But even the name of the party will be democratically decided. Do you think that goes a bit far, right? Policies and structure being democratic, very good. But extending it to the name, I mean, do you worry that it could be too bureaucratic? Things such as logos, images, and names. For me, I'm fully happy for that to be decided by someone who's clued up on political strategy. Could we see the party sort of be held back from getting on with taking on Reform and Labour because they're too busy deciding on things that don't really need to be decided by hundreds of thousands of people?
Yeah, you raise an interesting point, to be fair. And I think at first blush, like, yeah, probably one might worry about it. Like, won't that get a little bit like unwieldy? But could endless member debates over the party name or logo slow down the real work of taking on, Reform and Labour? And I think it's a fair question, but I actually think this is an ultra democratic approach as part of like the secret source of the project, and its strengths I think will outweigh the risks as long as it's handled smartly. So first off, giving members a say in everything, even the name, sends a powerful signal. It says this party truly belongs to its supporters, it truly belongs to the people, and that's an immediate differentiator from like traditional parties where branding and decisions are tightly controlled by a small team of like strategists who come from the elites and focus groups. So by contrast, I think Corbyn and Sultana are doing a great job at saying, no, you build this party because it's your party. And that's a level of empowerment that can be incredibly energizing for a disillusioned society. And you could imagine being one of those supporters that, you don't just sign up as a passive name or an email list, you get to actually shape the identity from day one. So I think if thousands of people participate in choosing the name, then they will feel real ownership over that whole movement. So I think like on a psychological level, it's fucking huge. Like you knock on doors, like I think people will feel like more like obligated to knock on doors, to get involved, to be like, listen, hey, I want to be like, what else can I do? I don't just want to pick a name, I want to go volunteer. So could it become bureaucratic? Possibly, but that's only if it's not managed well. I think we've all seen the joke about vote phase, like you open a public vote on a name and you might get something creative, but I have faith that the organisers will set up a process to keep things sensible.
Yeah, as long as there's nothing like collective, and I know that's already kind of one of the names in there, but that's not the political party, or like solidarity or socialism. Look, I really don't like these names because it just speaks to the activist base, but to the ordinary person, collective doesn't really mean anything. Solidarity, like especially we're in an era of like non-solidarity. I want something aggressive. It's why I like Reform's name, because it's like, we are going to reform this, we're going to reform that. I mean, my name suggestions aren't particularly great, but I'm like alternative party, because we can say we are the alternative to the billionaire class. or the People's Party. It's you get it straight away.
Yeah.
But look, we're discussing small issues here, neither here nor there. I am really excited though to see this democratic project, a genuine, ground up, grassroots democratic party is really exciting, and I really want to see where this goes. But it is coming to 8 o'clock, so we probably should move on. Onto our second story. Tensions are rising across the streets of Britain, specifically in Epping, where those have come out and demonstrated against hotels housing refugees. These protests quickly turned violent, as we covered on a previous show. Unsurprisingly, people have been trying to spin this as left-wing agitators deployed by the police to make the protesters look bad. This is what Nigel Farage had to say.
Have a look at this video.
If these are locals, why are they getting a police car? Where time's the next bus? You wait 15 minutes for a bus and then 3 come all along at once. Look, they're all cramming in.
This shows Stand Up to Racism, as they're called, with Antifa, a violent, thuggish group, arriving at the train station and literally, by Essex police, being bussed to the Bell Hotel. These were the people that caused the disturbances. These were the people that caused the riots. Essex police caused the disturbances.
Well, he is 100% lying. Again, on a previous show, it was clear it was far-right thugs vandalising police vehicles. Now, the claim that Antifa, and by the way, Antifa, this is Nigel Farage once again trying to Americanise politics, right? Antifa, there's some people in this country who will call themselves that, but it's far bigger in America. And, Antifa, the left, he's saying that they were involved. That is a complete inversion of reality. Instead, we have confirmation that the protests were helped set up by neo-Nazis. Members of one of Britain's biggest fascist groups have been helping to organise anti-migrant protests in Epping and are attempting to spread disorder to towns and cities across the country. 3 members of Homeland are sole administrators of Epping Says No, a Facebook group with more than 1,500 members. The group has been used to advertise and coordinate protests that have taken place outside the Bell Hotel in the Essex town over the past 11 days. Homeland was founded in 2023 after splintering from Patriotic Alternative, previously Britain's dominant neo-Nazi organisation. Now, it's not just Epping. Dozens of anti-migrant protesters gathered outside an empty hotel in East London's financial district for a second consecutive night on Wednesday, driven by false rumours circulating on social media that the building was housing migrants relocated from the Bell Hotel. While the Britannia International Hotel in Canary Wharf has been earmarked for use by the Home Office, it has yet to receive any migrants, officials said. The department has reserved more than 400 beds at the Britannia, which is advertised as a 4-star hotel, agreeing on a price of £81 per night for each migrant who moves in. Anytime we talk about this, people respond by saying, well, this is about protecting people. They're not racist. They're not far-right. The left are just smearing good people. But the right-wing rhetoric is deliberately made to sound vague. Oh, so you're against protecting children, are you? Well, everyone supports protecting children. No one is contending that. What we are saying is that if you selectively choose who to go for based on race, or if they are refugees and immigrants, then it's not about protecting kids. This video by our very This video by our very own Lewis Aaron perfectly encapsulates how this is all about political agendas.
To all the people protesting at migrant hotels, these are the people who've been jailed this week for crimes against children. Oh wait, no it's not, one sec. This is page 1, that was page 2, and these are the people who've been jailed since Monday. So now it's Thursday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Do they all have something in common? Because I can't quite figure it out. Somebody told me that all these people have something in common, but I can't think what it is. I've got some more pictures for you in a second, but to the people who've only got the energy for this at the hotels, you are living in an echo chamber, a social media echo chamber where you're only being fed information, where you think that most of these crimes that are being committed by these men are coming from one particular group. Because how many of these cases did you hear about? How many of these faces do you recognize? You don't, because you are living in an echo chamber. These are the people jailed this week for violence against women. Oh, wait, no, it's not one. I did it again. That was just page 2. This is page 1 of all the people who've been jailed this week for violence against women, all the way from stalking, all the way up to multiple murders. Now, this took me quite a long time to put together, but what's interesting about all the cases from this week, from the ones for children and the one for women, is that these 2 people here got the most attention. Now, this guy here is some sort of medical doctor, so he made it into the more mainstream national newspapers, and this guy here, well, you can probably guess why he's the only one out of them all who pretty much made it into every single mainstream newspaper. He did something very horrific, and he killed his wife. But you know what? Other people on this page actually did the same, but for some reason, they only made it into local media. It's almost like the media has a bias, because this guy got more attention than everyone else combined. Now, I did spend a long time trying to put this together. I can't say this is absolutely every single case, but I think it is. This is not people who are in court. This is not people who have been arrested. This is people who've specifically been jailed since Monday, as far as I can tell.
I mean, why did the first person in the first image look like Thanos? Now, by the way, when you call it out, they lose their minds. Lewis has confirmed he's received 5 death threats from that video. Sarah, the far right always weaponize language rather than being honest and say that they are specifically targeting race and religion. They just say, protect the kids. When, of course, it's not about that at all, is it?
No, not at all. 100% not. It's always about racism. It's always about xenophobia. This whole, and you said it so perfectly, this whole protect the children, protect the local children, protect our kids. That messaging is deliberately vague, and it's vague on purpose because it implies that there's this broad existential threat to children in the community without ever having to explicitly say, it's refugees who are the predators, it's people of colour who are the predators, which would lay bare the bigotry. Instead, it's just like, we're just asking the questions, and surely you don't oppose child safety. Like, obviously, no one on the left or the right is going to oppose child safety. Like, if we wrote down all the things we wanted in this country, we'd find that we agree on most of that stuff. It's just super dishonest framing. And as you said, if someone only targets certain children, i.e., they only show up when those alleged perpetrators are refugees or Muslims, then I think it literally betrays their actual agenda. Because where are these people when children are harmed by local British men or by underfunded social services or by anything that doesn't involve immigrants? Because they're nowhere to be found. I'm sick and tired of the selective outrage when it comes to women and girls, when it comes to children. They do not protest outside the institutions where abuse has happened unless it fits their anti-immigrant narrative. Because where are you outside the churches? Not to make this a theological debate, I'm not doing that, but we know for a fact they have denied having safeguarding reviews. The Church of England has denied it completely. Basically say they don't want any, and I'm like, but you've been caught doing loads of child sexual abuse in the church, so where's the outrage? I sound like Lammy when I say that, but it's true. Like, where's the outrage? I'm just sick and tired of it. You'd be outside the churches or the football clubs, because we know that domestic abuse goes up exponentially when people's teams are losing, or schools where abuse scandals have occurred. But funnily enough, the far right don't give a fuck about those. It's only when they can blame foreigners that they spring into action. So yeah.
I mean, I want to get your response to what Farage said, right? He's trying to make it out that the left are in cahoots with the state. And I mean, the left have famously been targeted by the state, whether it's standing up for Palestine. I mean, people are getting arrested for holding a pro-Palestine sign that has nothing of Palestine Action literature on there. They're just getting arrested for it. What about protesting climate change? We've got Just Stop Oil activists in jail for 5 years. What about the spy cop scandal, where you had police officers infiltrate climate groups, so much so that they were undercover and marrying and having children with some of the activists, right? That's where the state works against the left. In reality, right, the far right and the state have always worked hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a conspiracy theory, isn't it? Like, and I feel like it feels Orwellian, like in its inversion of reality, because he's out there claiming that left-wing activists, and he always, like, people on the right love to talk about Antifa so much, as though like everyone should be against fascism. Like, let's just be honest, and stand up to racism. Well, basically, in cahoots with the police, it's fucked. I think we need to break down why Farage's statement is shit, and then address the broader historical irony behind it, because the factual rebuttal is that Essex police themselves have categorically denied Farage's claim as false. ironic. But he wants to stir up hatred in those that want to view like the left as an enemy of the state. Like, hey, they're against the establishment. Oh, sorry, no, they're part of the establishment. There are people that like don't even want to sit along, on the same table as you. They don't care about the things that you care about. So I think it is just trying to create, again, culture wars. That's what he capitalizes on. It's always culture wars, and he will spin any narrative to make it seem as though these Antifa thugs are the ones that are behind really, really fucks up stuff. It's just bad faith propaganda. And if people actually started investing themselves into credible reporting, then you'd realize that these were far right organizers who are the ones coordinating behind the scenes. But people don't want to read anywhere outside of a headline. So that's the issue.
I mean, I'll be interested to see what people, or if people give me any examples of where not just the UK, but like states across the world that have colluded with the left. Whereas I can give you so many examples of the opposite. I mean, whether it's in Chile, and the West backs Pinochet, a far-right fascist, because there was a socialist in power, Allende, and that was a coup. So they pushed the right wing there. Even when it comes to the Middle East, we hear the lie that there's moderate Islamic terrorists in the region, so we're going to put loads of money into them to topple the government. Oh, wait, it turns out they're ISIS. The reason why the state will never stand with the left is because the left is a threat to capital. And it's a threat to an overbearing state. Now, what about the right wing? I mean, I would love to know how the establishment, how the state have differing ideologies with the right wing. I mean, the state loves to be bloated. The state loves to be overbearing, loves to be authoritarian. That's what states kind of do in its nature, and left we have people pushing back on it. Now, are the right anti-state? No, they love a big state. They want to, I mean, look, they want to arrest you for being... basically in a political opposition. They don't ever say anything about sort of a surveillance state, which once again the left does. When it comes to anti-protest laws, who are the ones who are arguing against it and actually protesting against it? Is it the right wing? No, it's the left. So there's so many examples where the right wing love an overbearing state, and the state obviously wants to be overbearing in of itself. That's what naturally happens. So you can see where the ideological and political lines occur with the right and the state. But the left has always been against power, whether it's corporations or whether it's an overbearing state. So the idea that the left are in cahoots with the police and the state is absolutely insane as for the birds. But it's about, I mean, for the right wing, the enemy is it's about the enemy from within. I mean, of course, they do attack migrants, they do attack refugees, but what they're really saying is these things are happening because of people who are in this country, who hate this country, are designing it. And that's eerily similar to old anti-Semitic tropes that you heard where, oh, Jewish people are trying to bring multiculturalism, they're trying to bring the gay agenda, and it's all just... or Jewish people are against sort of traditional conservative Christian values. They blame the Jews for it, essentially. And now, of course, some people on the right still think that, but not everyone can say that. But they'll still blame an enemy within, and that is the woke left that is trying to create this multicultural society where immigrants are favoured more than British people. All of it is baloney.
It is baloney. And you're so right. This is what they try to posit themselves as like, we're the patriotic protesters. We care about our nation. But that's laughable to anyone who has a sense of history at all whatsoever, because you pointed correctly to the fact that the left, whether we're talking about socialists or trade unionists or anti-racists or climate activists, like they've always, almost always anyway, been on the receiving end of state repression and not working hand in hand with it. Like these are the people that get blacklisted, arrested and smeared by government agencies time and time again. And I think in recent memory, like when you think about Black Lives Matter, for example, there was a lot of monitoring and a lot of harassing by police. Like a lot of these things do point to the fact that, or even now with like pro-Palestine demonstrations and like that very, very heavy-handed, you'd point to that as well. So yeah, completely agree with you. But I think the far right want to have some sort of like sympathetic wink and nod from elements of the state. So completely agree with you.
Let's leave that there. But before we go on to our next story, I just want to say if you're enjoying the stream, then please like and subscribe. Just to remind viewers that we are 5 volunteers. We do not get paid for this work, but one day we would love for this to be our full-time jobs. So if you can, please consider becoming a supporter by going to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There you could become a member or a monthly patron, or there is another link for a one-off donation. Of course, you can also become a YouTube member for just 99p. But on to our final story of the evening. Declassified UK have leaked government documents regarding the proscription of Palestine Action with some bombshell conclusions. The UK government was secretly advised that Palestine Action is highly unlikely to advocate for violence, while officials struggled to produce evidence the group posed a national security threat, it can be revealed. The Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre, which is based within MI5, also concluded that the majority of direct action by Palestine Action would not be classified as terrorism, but does often involve criminality. While one incident involved several alleged assaults, moreover, UK officials broadly recognised that Palestine Action does not promote or encourage attacks on people. The documents also indicate how national security concerns were not a central factor in the Home Office's decision to prescribe. Indeed, they barely feature in the government's open evidence. Now, I, for one, would think that any group being prescribed as terrorists should be a threat to safety. Yet here we are, the government admitting that PA essentially posed no threat, yet prescribed them anyway. But this isn't the biggest bombshell. The documents also show that Palestine Action was planned to be prescribed before the RAF base incident. Remarkably, the Foreign Office specifically advised against prescription in March in response to the breakdown of the ceasefire in Gaza and the interaction with Ramadan. It noted that prescription at this time risked being received poorly, both domestically and abroad by our partners, where it could be perceived as pro-Israel bias after the resumption of their military operations. To this end, Cooper repeatedly delayed approving the prescription order until June 2025, citing the Foreign Office's advice, as well as considerations relating to local elections and forthcoming Palestine Action trials. So the incident at the RAF base, when Palestine activists spray paint on a jet, happened on the 20th of June this year. Discussions around the prescription of PA date back to 2024, and that's what we know, with Yvette Cooper delaying it until June. It was that point where they found their excuse. So the prescription wasn't based on the actions of PA at the RAF base. Now, what kickstarted this plan to prescribe Palestine Action? Well, would you be surprised if I told you that pro-Israel groups were involved? Emphasis was also placed on the impact of prescription of the reputation of Lord Wolney, the government's former independent advisor on political violence, who has accepted funding from pro-Israel and arms trade lobbyists. Other reports documented Israeli embassy officials purportedly admitting to get the Attorney General's office to intervene in court cases. In the context of such reports, prescription could provide fertile ground for actors attempting to substantiate a pattern of bias, the report continues. So there we have it. Israel lobby groups pressured the UK government to prescribe Palestine Action, and the government delayed it because they were worried about the perception that they were clamping down on people's civil liberties. You think? I have to say, once again, DC UK is doing phenomenal work. Sarah, I think this information can finally put to bed the nonsense that Palestine Action were prescribed on the grounds that they posed a threat and that this was a response to the RAF base incident.
I mean, am I surprised? No. I just think this is what they do. Like when someone is resistant, when a group is resistant, when a group is defiant to the state and like the status quo, they want to criminalize it, and that's what frightens me. Like, why is it that people cannot call out what's happening around the world in this genocide without being prescribed as terrorists? And Palestine Action, obviously, with this being said, didn't get banned because they were dangerous. They were getting banned because they were being effective somewhat. I have to be careful what I say, but they've been hitting UK arms trades where it hurts, in public visibility, and like they've had no choice but to confront that uncomfortable truth. And I think they're doing it in a way that actually is, I need to be so careful what I say, I really do, but there is a sense of legitimacy there. That's what I like about it. I think that instead of addressing why British companies are profiting from weapons that are being used in this brutal oppression, the government chose to go after the messengers, and I think that says a lot about the British government. And if you actually read what was leaked, like you've shown, then it's clear that this wasn't a case of emergency counterterrorism at all, and that's a frightening prospect. That if you are showing some sort of resistance towards something, they're going to try and brandish you as something other than what you are. So I don't think officials could even agree on whether Palestine Action met the basic legal threshold for terrorism, and it shows, because the group doesn't target civilians, doesn't promote violence against people, and actively focuses on property. And I think that's quite symbolic.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously there were some officials who felt like Palestine Action met the threshold of terrorism. I disagree with that.
I disagree.
But I was wrong in my assessment before finding out about this. Now, no one here is surprised about these findings, but it does give you clarity, because when I was asked about the proscription, my response, based on the limited information I had, was that Yvette Cooper was virtue signaling, that this was based on the response of what they did to the RAF base and the planes, right? But she wanted to appear strong, and the Labour government wanted to appear strong, and also, of course, because they wanted to back Israel. But these documents leaked from DCUK sheds a new light that they planned to prescribe PA for a long, long time. Not only that, but there were many people saying, is this even the definition of terrorism? And their own reports suggest there's nothing, they're not really a national security threat. It's pretty much absolved from the reports, and they're non-violent. Now, I mean, like, help me understand here, but again, if you're going to prescribe people as terrorists, aren't they supposed to be a threat to one, national security, and a threat to people's lives? If they're neither of those things, then how could they be prescribed as terrorists? Because
it's never been about safety. It's been about control, and I think the decision to ban them wasn't made in a vacuum, and that's been shown. I think it's come after months of pressure, political, diplomatic, and ideological pressure from a particular place. And I think there's a reason state actors hesitated, because they knew that the optics looked bad, but the optics are easier to spin than a successful anti-war campaign. So here we are. And I think what it shows is that if you really disrupt the right targets, defense contractors, arms dealers, like multinational war beneficiaries, then suddenly the bar for extremism gets lowered slightly. And I think, let's be like super honest here, if this was actually about principle, then I think we'd see the same prescription happening to far right groups, would we not? That radicalize online, that groom really, really young individuals on the internet, and show up with weapons in the streets eventually. Like, let's not forget the Plymouth attack that happened. But instead, I think the state is reserving that power for a non-violent, anti-fascist, anti-colonial campaign. And that kind of tells you everything you need to know. This was a direct message to anyone who thinks about taking direct action against this war machine. If you step out of line, we're going to shut you down, not legally, but politically. So you can't run away from us.
I mean, there's not even, I mean, there is precedent actually for this, not quite as egregious, but climate activist groups have been prescribed as terrorists or considered terrorism. It's really wild, and you just think the point is to keep people safe. And you're absolutely right. I love that you're linking it to the far right, because I'm going to be frank here, and of course I know the other side will say the complete opposite, right? But the right wing are just more violent than the left. Now, of course, if there's any right wingers saying that, they're like, well, of course you're going to say that. And actually, the left are really, really violent. But look at the facts, though. Look at how many, where have the assaults, murders, and attacks happened from the left? Where have they been? Whereas I can point to 2 MPs that were killed from ultra right-wing ideologies. One was a Britain First ideology. Joe Cox was murdered. The second one, Tory MP, was murdered from as Islamist extremists. And before people say, isn't that left-wing? No, religion is ultra-conservative. You do realise that. Like, all religion are very conservative doctrines. Now, of course, the left defends Muslims against unfair attacks and smears, They're two different things. Owen Jones was assaulted by far-right thugs. Aaron Bastani was assaulted. We saw the footage of police vans being vandalized. Now, again, I think equipment damage is far different to bodily damage. But like, there's so many examples where the right wing are far more dangerous than the left. But the state isn't interested in protecting people. The state is interested in protecting themselves. And at the moment, the state is very interested in protecting the interests of Israel. So they rather allow violence on our streets spill out through lies, manipulation, and racism, and arrest peaceful Palestine campaigners. It's as simple as that.
Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. When you were listing all the things that the far right have done, I was like, yeah, and I'll wait to hear about the things that the left have done when it comes to violence on these streets. And yeah, you might find the odd anomaly.
Yeah,
they are out there, of course. But when we actually put the list next to each other, there are stark differences. But this needs to emphasize to everyone, this is not about Palestine Action. Like, this is literally a blueprint. This is what they're going to use to be like, hey, if this campaign is going to challenge the status quo, if this campaign is going to challenge us and hold us accountable, then hey, you're going to be shut down super quick. So I think climate activists, anti-racists, I don't know, just anyone who goes against what the government is saying is going to be put under this shadow cast by this decision.
Okay, let's go to our producer for your comments. I'm sure there's going to be some really good ones. We've had a very successful show. We've had on YouTube a peak of 125 viewers. So I'm sure there are going to be some really interesting comments. Hello, Mr. Producer. Really, really good. How are you doing? What do you have for us?
Oh, sorry, Lewis. What we should do is welcome you. It's so good to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently you're mute.
Look at the layers panel quickly. That's why. Give us a second and you'll be back in the room with us right now. Now they can hear you.
Oh, there we go. Okay, nobody could hear that embarrassing moment from me then. Okay, that's fine. Hi, everyone. Okay, so what we have today, we've had a lot of engagement in the comments, but let's quickly go through the lovely super chat and membership serve. So Specs always serving and gave us 10 gifted memberships. So thank you so much, Specs. And then Phil McCracken, a lovely old classic. I did actually have a Mrs. McCracken who worked at my high school in Leeds. I don't know if her husband's name was.
Let's just pretend he was called Phil.
Let's just pretend he was called Phil. Okay, let's go to the start comment. Where would you like to start? Would you like to go backwards, or would you like to start from the top?
It's entirely up to you, Mr. Producer.
Let's go backwards then. So, John Pullen said, independent clauses are important, just to point out. I support Palestine, full stop. Action needs to be taken to stop genocide. And then
Do you reckon they could actually get someone for that, though?
Well, actually, somebody brought this up, actually. Let me see if Michael talked about it, getting arrested for private eye cartoons being on show. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
There was a former head teacher in Leeds at a protest, and he held up a copy of the Private Eye, which, if I remember correctly, it said it was basically making a joke about supporting action in Palestine to stop war crimes. Bad. I'm not going to do the joke justice. I can't remember what it is, but basically, it didn't say "I support Palestine Action" on it, but it made a joke about Palestine Action, and he was arrested.
So I'm. Do you know what? I'm going to be super frank and honest here. I'm actually scared to wear my Palestine football shirt because I get worried going out in the streets that someone's going to be like, they've just said that Palestine Action are terrorists and that means you're one too. I get really, really worried that and I've worn the Sudan football shirt before, and because the flags look so similar and people don't know the difference, they're like, why are you wearing that? And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Get away from me, stranger.
And I think, and it's definitely, it's my theory, but I definitely believe that lower ranking officials and officers are saying, now they've prescribed Palestine Action, don't just go after these people, go after everyone you can. Use this as an excuse. Because obviously, if they were gonna stick to the letter of the law. They could only arrest people who have Palestine Action literature, but they're not. They're just anything that's vaguely Palestine, and they fucking know that.
Well, in the court case on Monday, the founder of Palestine Action was in court on Monday to try and get it overturned. We'll hear more about it in the next few weeks. I think it's like the end of the month. They specifically mentioned multiple cases of people just having Palestine t-shirts and getting like harassed and questioned and stopped by the police and stuff like that. I just pulled up the Private Eye thing just so I can give it context and justice. So the poster is from Private Eye, and it says Palestine Action explained, and it's got a big cross next to it saying unacceptable Palestine action, spraying military planes with paint, acceptable Palestine action with a big tick, shooting Palestinians queuing for food. And the teacher was arrested for that, the former head teacher.
Insane.
I'm fucking angry and sickened by this disgusting genocide enabling government.
Yeah.
Fucking awful. Does it not make you like really? It gets me really emotional.
Yeah. Anger's my emotion.
Yeah.
The scariest thing is, like, I hope it gets overturned, but it could again turn into another case of, it's not a case of whether they meet the definition of terrorism. It's just a case of, does the government have this power to use it as they want? And if the court rules that, that's very scary, not only for this government's use of power, but any future governments too. But Jim Speak has a great idea. We need to prescribe that Cooper.
Wait, hold on. That's really funny, but isn't there a new group that advocates for Palestine called Yvette Cooper? So actually, I don't want the group Yvette Cooper to be prescribed, but the politician Yvette Cooper to be prescribed. And by the way, this new group they've called themselves Yvette Cooper is fucking genius. Because but who's going to imagine if Yvette Cooper has to prescribe herself?
But we'll obviously see what happens, because obviously today, I think somebody else mentioned this as well. Yep, Rhubarb mentioned it. The UK government's ban on Palestine action is a disturbing misuse of counter-terrorism legislation. The United Nations Human Rights Chief has warned and said it could even possibly be against international law.
I mean, we are a failed state. The UN needs to get involved. The UN needs to come over here and sort us out, because clearly we're fucked and we can't govern ourselves.
Pretty
We're a
much.
failed state.
We are fucking shit. We're so shit.
I'm not sure if I started this or somebody else did, or I might have done it by accident, but Urbane Legends.
I started that.
Oh, there you go.
The reason why I started is because, no offense, but did you not watch the video? I literally described to you how Palestine Action was planned of being prescribed as early as 2024. So I don't understand why you're saying if they hadn't gone for the military pain, they wouldn't have been prescribed. It was a bad move. Like, okay. I mean, to be fair, you might have came in after that, but I'm pretty sure you weren't. But if you weren't in for that, the entire segment on this story, I literally detailed with quotes that Yvette Cooper and those within anti-terrorism units were talking about prescribing action as early as 2024, and Yvette Cooper pushed it back because she didn't believe she had consent. Specifically when it came to the local elections and Ramadan, which makes it even more disgusting, that she didn't want to prescribe Palestine action around Ramadan because she thought people would be angry. And then when PA went to the RF base and spray painted the military plane, that was when she dropped it because she felt like she had a reason to. So that your comment literally doesn't make a difference.
And just to remind everybody, by the way, you really put the emphasis on the E in the Yvette Cooper, don't you? Like I say
again.
When you say Yvette Cooper.
Yeah, so what?
It's a Bristolian.
Is that a Bristolian thing?
Tractor.
No, I mean I've got an auntie called Yvette, and she's never corrected me.
I'm gonna sign into my Yvette app
we've had Urbane Legends. He said he came in after that, so that's fair.
You were quite restrained there, Curtis. I feel like the Curtis a year ago would have gone ham.
No, because I wouldn't have gone ham because if it was someone like a right winger just being a dickhead, I mean, I still could probably go ham. Or maybe we'll calm down. I don't know.
But just to remind everybody, Yvette Cooper or Yvette Cooper has a picture of Emmeline Pankhurst, the lead suffragette in the movement, who called for the bombings to happen and celebrated them, encouraged them all over the UK, and lots of direct action, violent action.
They need to prescribe the suffragettes.
Yeah,
they need
exactly.
to retroactively prescribe the suffragettes. I mean, to be fair though, like if they're gonna be fucking consistent.
Be consistent, yeah.
Like the suffragettes were way more violent than Palestine Action. Like we
should start the petition. Retroactively prescribe them.
Prescribe the suffragettes. Yeah, it's so fucking disgusting. And then for them to invoke the suffragettes as well and celebrate them, oh god, it makes me fucking angry.
I swear I started a comment from our lovely Edward Sexby about this topic, and I can't remember what he said, but I'll see if I can find it after. He specifically, oh yeah, it was to do with the guy who was the independent advisor. What was his name? Was it Hanley? I just wanted to point because Hanley. What was his name again?
Wanley.
Oh, Wanley, yeah. So Edward was obviously aware of him as soon as he heard the name, and he left a comment, but I swear I started it. But yeah, he used to be the head of the Labour Friends of Israel.
Yes.
Who else used to be head of the Labour Friends of Israel? David Mensa, the current Israeli spokesman for the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So Walney, but then Walney was then brought on
by the Tories.
By the Tories, it says an anti-terrorism expert. I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's anti-Semitism expert, which obviously to be an anti-Semitism expert in this country is just accuse everyone of being anti-Semitic.
Accuse everyone of being an anti-Semite. Yeah.
Pretty easy job, isn't it?
So
he's an anti-Semite. She's an anti-Semite. They're all anti-Semites. Pretty fucking. You get paid a lot of money just to do that.
Like the Oprah of anti-Semites. Anti-Semitism to you.
You're an anti-Semite. We're all anti-Semites.
But yeah, in his initial report that he released when he first advised banning Palestine Action, he actually went further. He actually advised even potentially going after even quote unquote more moderate groups. Let's be grateful, guys, that Tories aren't in power. You know, the guys who hired him.
Are they not in power? Are you sure?
But right. I genuinely think that if the Conservatives were in power, they wouldn't prescribe Palestine Action. Honestly, I don't think they would have the gall to do it. I think Labour, as I described that when people said, "Oh, things are going to change with Labour in power, so they're going to continue austerity," is because Labour so obsessed about being the grown-ups in the room, are so obsessed about looking like they belong in power that they almost have something to prove. The Conservatives almost don't give a shit, whereas the Labour Party want to prove to the people that they care so fucking much and that they're the big boys, that they go further. And that's why I hand on heart think I don't think they would have been prescribed.
I think Jenrick would, but I don't think Cleverly would. Not too sure about Kemi.
Kemi,
she wouldn't do it because I think she
Kevi's
doesn't have enough of a backbone to do it. She's pretty clueless.
She just doesn't do. Sometimes I'm like, who is the leader of the Tory party? Oh yeah, it's Kemi. She just doesn't really exist. But sorry, I just saw Jim's comment and it made me laugh. It's actually not funny. Was it? No, it's actually not funny. Jim. Oh my god! If hell exists, we are going there.
Oh shit.
Fuck it out.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I can't. I need to collect myself. But no, facts. Yeah, I feel you're right. Labour wants to look like the grown-ups in the room. Labour just wants to look like they are doing a good job. They're like, look, we're clamping down on things because that's what you need. You need a government who's going to be like, no, yes, very decisive. But these decisive decisions are awful. And actually, what they end up doing, like what happened in recent weeks and months, U-turn, because they realise that actually what they're doing is utterly insane.
I also just saw this as well, which is really interesting. Choki just put, but of course Thatcher ironically paid tribute too while going after the IRA. And I also recently learned that what was he was the seventh or eighth prime minister of Israel, Yitzhak Shamir. He was the head of the terrorist organization Lehi, and he literally unalived. Oh my god, TikTok language! I do this all the time.
Oh my god,
TikTok censorship is killing my brain. He killed multiple British diplomats. He sent him and his organization sent things through the post to the Prime Minister. They tried to do multiple things. They committed multiple massacres, and Margaret Thatcher went up and met him as soon as he became Prime Minister, which is just again
because actual terrorists are not labelled as terrorists. We give money to them.
Yeah, even the state of Israel labelled them as terrorists, but don't worry, guys, they got a pardon because their terrorism was justified. Yeah. Let's move on to the comments about lovely old Zara and Corbyn. Scrolling back up. I just unticked one of them. I'll find that one again. I'm not doing good today, guys. Not doing good today. We'll come back to Jeremy and Sultana because I clicked something wrong. Okay, let's go to Jeremy and Sultana. Okay. So, Monkey put Alistair Campbell.
Do you know what? I really fucking love immature names, like nicknames. Like I've
Same.
been doing that on Twitter a lot. Like there's this guy. This is I think he's like American guy who wanted to like run as London mayor. Proper racist. And his last name was Foreman. And I just called him Foreskin. And it's just so stupid, but I fucking loved it. I wanted people to see a 32-year-old man is immature enough to call someone you racist foreskin. Or that guy, the leader of UKIP. I just call him a bold racist cunt. That's all I do. And it's satisfying.
I call people names all the time, but sometimes I'm like, I think I'm going to get dropped from the live like I did the other day. So that's good. That is good.
I love it.
Where's those fucking dossiers, Alistair?
He did recently. What was it? Was it last week or the week before? He came out and said it's now a genocide in Gaza.
Oh, fuck off, Alistair.
I couldn't give a fuck what
He's
that man
just such a wet wipe. Like, shut up. Like, honestly, when he came on the screen, I was like, go away. Don't want to hear what he's got to say.
We do have some support. Oh no, we're sticking to the first story, aren't we? Not doing good today, guys. So we do have some people who've already said they've signed up and donated, which I thought was interesting as well, especially on like the Green side of things, because I was hanging around on the Green part of Reddit, and obviously, you know, people weren't happy, probably reflecting some of the similar opinions that Cal has had as well about, is it going to split the left-wing vote and all of this type of stuff. So I thought I'd give you guys the opportunity to quickly talk about the splitting of the vote thing.
What do you think? I don't think it's going to split the left, personally. I don't think it is. I think what I want is for Labour to not be voted for again. Like, I think they are a waste of a vote. If we were to have a general election tomorrow, I think they're a waste of a vote. I don't think this will split the left. I was having this discussion with Callum as well. He was basically saying that the Greens have been established for a really long time, and they've really they're a grassroots effort. And I was like, well, I think that this also is a grassroots effort, but I think the appeal that this has is the Corbyn-Sultana party is the fact that it's new. Like, I think Greens have had plenty of time to kind of get their name out there and get away from the misconception that they're this tree hugging party. And unfortunately, they haven't so far. Like, they're still known as that. And I think what people are looking for, because we are in such a disillusioned society where so many people are so like politically apathetic, they just want something new. And I think something new sometimes is less scary than what's ordinary. I don't think the left will be split. I think we actually could be unified a lot more. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Greens probably have a ceiling. Having said that, I think Zach Polansky is the only person to get Greens to that ceiling. I think Zach Polansky is that person to make the Greens as popular as they can be. But I do think there is a ceiling in which maybe this new Jeremy Corbyn-Sultana party can transcend. I was listening to Ashok Kumar on Talk TV today, and I think I agree with a lot of what he said. He said, first of all, I think a red-green alliance is a must. I agree. I don't want this faction bullshit. Like, they have to work together. But there are constituencies which the Greens might not be able to get where this new party can. And there's probably constituencies where the Green Party can get and which this new party can't. Namely, Adrian Ramsey's seat. Kind of Green Tory sort of seats, right? Maybe this new Jeremy Corbyn party is only really popular with urban places, working class, left behind places, and minorities, specifically Muslims, whereas the Greens can probably get more affluent areas. So I think they should work together. Now, I mean, look at the polling, and again, polling is polling. We can't always trust it 100%, but it is, I think, pretty impressive that a Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana party with no policies, with no structure, and no fucking name can get 12% in the polls, can get 15% in the polls, which matches with Labour. And of course, you can see in the polls it does eat into the Green vote. Like, the Greens massively lose out. I mean, some polls have put the Greens on 12%, which is probably an outlier. They probably fall between 9 and 11%. Still pretty impressive, by the way. But in the polls that include Jeremy Corbyn, they're on like 5 or 6%. It is true that it eats into them, but we kind of need someone or a party or an organisation or a bloc to be an alternative to reform. And when a lot of people in the mainstream media say Jeremy Corbyn is a splitter, Labour, without this party, are polling at 20%, 23%. Reform, the latest poll shows them on 34%. They have a 14% lead over Labour. So they're going to get destroyed by Reform regardless. So what we actually need is someone to replace Labour. And I don't think the Greens can replace Labour. I do think that the Greens and this new party collectively can get more a combined vote share higher than the Conservatives. I think it's very possible that these two parties working in coalition together can get 25%. And I don't think Labour can even get 25%. And that is massive. And that poses an actual threat to reform. So it's almost necessary now, because I don't think, one, Labour can be reformed and become left-wing. And two, I don't think Labour even has the numbers to go into coalition. Like if the Greens and the Labour Party, which will never happen now because they're so ideologically different, but if they were to team up, they probably still couldn't beat reform. So I think Labour has to be replaced to defeat the right wing. Not that some people are saying, well, the left wing is splitting the vote. Labour are the only people that can stop the Reform Party. I mean, yeah, as it stands, Labour are probably the only ones that can stop reform. But I don't think Labour can stop reform. So I think we need someone to overtake the Labour Party to then stop reform.
I think as well it's important to point out that, I do understand where there's some people come from who will say, I'm really scared the vote's going to get split and Reform are going to get in. I think that's a very fair but simple statement to make. But at the same time, I would say that it's everybody else's job to keep the foot on Labour's neck as much as we can, to pressure them as much as we can, to hopefully help change their direction. And I do think that, I'd like to think that practical people towards an election would potentially do a European thing, a French thing, a German thing, and work together to try and defeat Reform in whatever way that they can. I don't see a Green Party or a Jeremy Party, and obviously, of course, Sultana, ever really trying to manipulate the map so Reform would win in any way. I think they would all actively work together if they had to, but I don't think there's even a point talking about that or even thinking about what's going to happen, because it's 4 years away. We don't know what's going to happen with Reform.
It is worth noting, though,
I
that
don't think it's 4 years.
Zach Polanski has said he's open to working with this new party. Jeremy Corbyn has literally said on TV he's open to working with the Greens. So, and I don't know what that looks like, by the way. I mean, it could be like, you just sort of gather together in Parliament and try and vote the same way, or if there's any electoral alliances. I don't know, but two prominent leaders of the left who represent different political parties are saying they would work together. I do think a red-green alliance is necessary. I obviously understand that people are worried about a split on the left, but it is my belief that I don't know if the Greens can get 20-30% in the polls. They do have, and Sarah, you're right, they still have that sort of aura of just only caring about the environment, the tree-hugging party, right? And of course, that's not what they are. And Zach Polanski is very valiant in trying to turn this into a, no, this is an eco-populist party where jobs, material conditions, and class work hand in hand with the environment. That is, to me, is the smartest strategy. It's the correct strategy. But how far can he push the envelope when the logo is green, then they're called the Green Party? To the masses, they're probably just seen as the Environment Party. Whereas this new Corbyn-Sultana party could potentially make more inroads to be a mass workers' party. Not, capital W Workers' Party George Galloway, but whatever this name is going to be.
And it's also worth noting, if anybody wants to blame anybody for splitting the left, I would in first place, I'd blame Morgan McSweeney, because you can tie everything back to him. And obviously then, of course, Keir Starmer for being the leader of the party. They have, instead of creating a broad church, and I understand as a political leader, you have to crack the whip sometimes and be a bit firm and all that type of stuff. But not even just the recent stuff that he's done. They have actively purged the entire left of the party instead of working in coalition with them to secure their own power, now to their own fault, that they've pushed the left so far away that they've now had to split off and create their own party. This is not the fault of anybody else than Morgan McSweeney and Keir Starmer.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, sorry if you want to come in on
No, it's absolutely right. I can't even add on to that, because it's true. Everything can go to be traced back to Morgan McSweeney. And I think that's what, but people won't, I feel like some people struggle to connect the dots, though. They just say, I give up on the left. I just need to go elsewhere. But if people actually took the time to connect the dots, they might realise that actually it is just a couple people who are fucking it up for us.
I mean, first of all, we can't split the left vote because Labour aren't left wing, but also,
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, I think people in terms of the anti-right vote, but again, I blame the blame is solely on the Labour Party because, look, under Jeremy Corbyn, he was elected to the leadership role by the members, right? It was a fair election. And when that happened, actually, it was even before he was elected. It was when he announced that he was going to be on the ballot. Before he even had enough nominations, the right wing, the Blairites and the Labour right were already throwing their toys at the pram. They're going, oh my God, this is crazy. We can't be doing this. They couldn't accept his mandate. And all through his leadership, they sabotaged him. So, of course, people on the left are like, okay, you don't have to agree with us. But at the end of the day, Jeremy Corbyn won the membership vote. He had a democratic mandate to implement the Labour Party in his vision. And we tried working towards that. And yet there were people within the party who tried stopping that from happening. So that was the first massive issue where the left of the Labour Party were like, why would we want to work with these people when they literally undermined us and we could have had a Jeremy Corbyn government? We literally could have had that. And then since then, there's been mass purges of any socialists, anyone on the left, and then they started coming for the centre left. I can't remember his name, but the leader of Compass, it's a centre left sort of group think tank. They're not even socialist left, they're just centre left, and they were getting purged. Where the Labour Party no longer was a party with the right and the left and the centre. It's basically the centre right and the right, and that's all the party is now. So they've treated the left like shit, told them to fuck off, and then left gone, okay, we're going to do our own thing now because you told us that, you said you don't need our votes, and now they're whinging? Absolutely not. Go fuck yourself.
But I don't even think the right know what the left actually consists of, because even when they look at the Labour Party and the discussions that I've had with people who are on the right, they think that Keir Starmer's a communist or that he's Keir Stalin, like all of these like really, really awful names to describe the Labour Party, obviously. But I don't think they know what the left is. I don't think the left even know what the left is sometimes.
I mean, they think the left is anyone who they think the left is Putin supporters and Hamas supporters, despite the fact that you can find so many instances where the right wing have praised Putin. Tony Blair praised Putin so many times, and it was Jeremy Corbyn in the 90s was criticising Putin and stuff like that. Like, it's, I mean, it's no point even thinking about it, I suppose.
We've got another donation in the meantime from Urbane Legends. The good thing is we can start to drag the Overton window to the left because hard right policies are seen as mainstream now. Thanks for the donation, Urbane.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
That's
and
so
you're
true.
absolutely right. And I think we had, I don't know her name, but we had someone appear on GB News who argued for remigration. Like, it's now got to that point where Twitter has become real life. It's not just weird, freaky, random Twitter Nazis calling for remigration. We now have people on mainstream TV arguing for remigration. The person said, we need to look at those who are not just illegally here, but legally here, right? That is fascist. To turn around and say, those that are here legally have a right to be here, maybe we should start deporting them. That is fascist politics. And yes, I know GB News is a fucking far-right rag, but it's still the mainstream media. And that is getting into the mainstream. And the biggest reason is nothing to do with electoral politics, which, by the way, the media and the centrists think that the Overton window consists of who's in power. That is utter crap, because guess what? Politics is more right-wing today than it was under the Tories. The Labour Party in government, yet we have people talking about remigration. When Jeremy Corbyn was in opposition and Boris Johnson was in power, were we talking about remigration? No, both political parties were rejecting austerity. Like, I personally think I would actually rather live in a world where we have a genuine left-wing Labour leader who's in opposition and a Conservative in government, but the battleground is not where we are today, than to have Labour in power fighting on the far right. Now, if you tell, especially a briefcase Labour melt that, they lose their minds and say, oh, you've always been a Conservative supporter because you don't want a Labour government. But like, what good is it when you have a Labour government in power that is only talking about clamping down on migration, talking about doxing illegal or irregular migrant workers who work for Uber Eats and stuff. So they're going to dox them, right? That's where we are today. So to me, I don't care who's in power. I don't care the rosette. If you're pushing right-wing policies, then to me, I would very much rather live under a conservative government where the Overton window is way to the left. And I think this is where Urbane Legends is absolutely spot on, regardless of how electorally successful the Greens and this new Corbyn party becomes. What matters is there's going to be a massive, loud left-wing bloc to drag the Overton window back, which may cause Labour to think, okay, maybe let's actually start doing some left-wing policies. But at the moment, the loudest voices in the room are reform, and Labour are just governing on reform's behalf. So I don't care that it's not a Conservative government anymore. And that's the way I felt when the results dropped on the election, right? I was like, I'm not even sort of bittersweet, happy and sad, because I knew the Overton window was going to go to the right because the so-called Left and Progressive Party started adopting right-wing politics. As soon as the Progressive Party starts adopting right-wing politics, the entire debate literally runs to the right. In 5 years' time, ethno-nationalism is going to become the mainstream, unless the left can get its act together and create a big left-wing bloc to drag the Overton window back. At the moment, it's not about electoral politics. It's not about who's in power. The most important thing is to drag the politics and drag the narrative and the political landscape back to the centre. It's not back to the left. It's just not in far-right politics.
That's a really, really good bloody point, because you're right. Everything we discuss at the moment is through that lens on the right. Like, it's always on the right. Like, but I think the conversation should be, how do we shift it back? How do we shift back to the centre and then eventually to the left? And I think this could be the way in, but I think we won't see that unless we see the left actually unite. There needs to be unity on the left. There needs to be a collective voice.
Right. We are going to have to close up soon, but I want to get through a few more comments. But let's make it light again. Jim, speak at it again. I see y'all's party McParty face jokes, and I raise you the Palestine Action Party.
I'd like to see it just to see if they got the fucking balls to do it. The name has been announced, and on the same day the party's name has been announced, we've now arrested them. Being prescribed.
Have you seen the two names that they've been called as well, by the way, by the right-wing media? So they've got the first name, which is Fruit and Nut.
And this that one, that's pretty.
Yeah, they're called the Fruit and Nut Party. It's shit. The other one, I can't help but laugh at it because it's kind of funny, but it's kind of shit. But they're calling them Jezbollah.
Yeah, that one's quite funny.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, because I think I saw someone tweet out like, "Oh, this is what their new party is," and I was like, "At least Jezbollah was funny." And Jezbollah, in a way, kind of fucking goes hard, They call it Jezbollah, and then they call the party Jezbollah, and then 600 plus seats with the new party wipes out all other political parties.
Can you imagine?
I don't know if it's Moji or Moggy, but being a centrist doesn't make you smart. Being a Marxist does. I thought you'd like that. And John would like to point out, Curtis, that Zara Sultana is popular too. By the way, I think it's obviously because you are you're pretty much a Corbynite in your sense.
Well, no, look, Zara Sultana is popular, but Jeremy Corbyn is more popular. He's more known, right? And I think that Zara Sultana has been kind of stifled within the Labour Party. She's going to grow into her own when she has the space. But the reason why I reference Jeremy Corbyn more is simply because he has that name recognition. He was leader of the opposition for 4 years. In fact, in 2017, he wasn't even that far off forming maybe like a small majority government. So like Zara Sultana is absolutely popular, but the reason why I reference Corbyn more is simply because he has higher name recognition.
Hey, I'm pretty sure, though, if I remember correctly, that Zara Sultana is the second most popular politician on social media.
On social media.
Bigger than Jezza.
But that's
She capitalised on social media really well.
Vonnie, political establishment have not read the room for far too long. They have treated us with contempt. I was actually going to show this when I was talking about Morgan McSweeney essentially being responsible for splitting the left, but they're just essentially, you've made your bed, now you've got to sleep in it. I like this one. Jim's on fire tonight. Bro cares so much more for Middle Eastenders.
Wait, does that say Easterners, not Easterners?
Oh, sorry, Middle Easterners. Sorry, I actually read it as Middle East Enders, as like a
That's even funnier.
British soap joke, but I've made the joke myself now. Oops.
Jeremy Corbyn's party does not represent Britain. They care more about Middle Eastenders. Now sling her up.
Yeah.
And also, we'll make this the last one. Jay, can reform survive Trumpism after Trump destroys the US? Because that is interesting, because people in the media have claimed that Canada's and Australia's recent success has been down to the Trump effect.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think reform can survive a lot of shit, and like even with this revolving door of like reform MPs being kicked out and then going elsewhere, reform have still been able to do quite well with their popularity. But and I think at the moment, if Farage keeps doing what he's doing, because although Trump is not as popular, Trump still remains relatively popular amongst a certain group of people. Same with reform. They will remain very, very popular amongst a certain group of people because they're talking about the things that those certain group of people are feeling angry about. If you capitalize on a disenfranchised society, then of course they're going to go things that make them angry. And that's what they do. Just populist rhetoric always wins for some reason.
Have you guys heard about the new South Park episode?
Yes, very funny. I don't watch South Park.
Neither do I.
It's funny. I do want to comment on JK here. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to be like what happened with Canada, because the reason why I think that is because in terms of Canadian politics, it's not like ours. Like I don't think that what's the Conservative Party in Canada called?
Isn't it? Oh wait, the Liberals is that's Trudeau's party, right? The Liberals, and I can't remember.
Yeah, can I?
Well, they kind of did well in the polls because people were unsatisfied with the Liberal Party, whereas support for reform is far.
Oh, it's just
more,
Conservatives.
It's just Conservatives. Support for reform is far more deep-seated, right? It's not because reform are doing well just because the current government is doing badly. Reform are doing well due to, I think, decades of neoliberalism, austerity, just the way I think the Brexit vote happened. It's that same constituency. These people haven't gone away. So I think it'll be looking at, if Trump falls, Farage and reform falls too. I think that's looking at it on the surface too. It's too surface level analysis. I also don't think that many people really pay attention and think there's a massive link between Trump and Farage. I think the mainstream media and sort of media pundits pay attention to that, but ordinary people on the ground, I don't think they even make the connection. It's not that Farage has praised Trump now and again. There's a couple of photos of them, but he's not always banging on about him as well. He's not tried to make a UK version of MAGA. He's distanced himself from it. Like Tommy Robinson is like the UK version of MAGA, and Farage has openly said, I disavow these people. I disavow Tommy Robinson. In America, though, Trump is trying to get all of the far right on board, whereas Farage is trying to look a bit more statesman-like. So I think there's a disconnect there between Trump and Farage in terms of optics. So no, to answer it, I don't think I think reform will survive Trumpism because their popularity, their appeal is far more deeply rooted than just Trump.
I really hope I want a journalist to ask Farage, do you think Trump should release the Epstein files? I just want to see his response to it, just to kind of put him in that spot, because obviously he's whipped up the whole, foreigners, paedophile, I'm going to be the protector type person, I'm going to stop this. And, almost like QAnon-ish in a way. So I want somebody to ask him that question.
If the media had any integrity, they would ask him that, but will they? Probably not.
I think that's it for the comments for today.
All right. Well, it's been an excellent show. Quite a successful show as well, actually. We've got 331 people watching at the moment, 124 on YouTube, so can't complain. Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
But of course, that is all we have time for. Thank you to our viewers who tuned in. Of course, thank you to Sarah for joining me tonight.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. You did great.
Remember, please, to like the stream. And if you're not a subscriber, then please hit that button. If you want us to grow, then you can head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There is a link to our Patreon where you can support us monthly, or follow the other link to give us a one-time contribution. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube member for just 99p. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Everyone have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next time.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.